Hey everyone, I am at Finca Tamana in Colombia at the moment. And in fact, it's 2021, so that means it's 10 years since I visited this farm for the first time. And as you may or may not know, Elias Roa, who is the farmer, he actually bought the farm in 2011. And not long after, I visited this farm, and we kind of agreed that it would be a good fit if we could see if we could work together. So in 2012, I came here for the first time to kind of work together with Elias, where we started changing the way he processes coffee and picks the coffee and so on. And since then, there has been a lot of improvements to the farm. Behind me, you can see the mill, and there's a new wet mill, there's a new cupping lab, there's new bedrooms and sleeping halls for the workers and so on. So I wanted to take you a little bit around the farm just to show you all the improvements that have been done, and hopefully you will enjoy the video. And as you can see, when you pay a decent price for coffee and produce high quality coffee, you can actually invest in the farm and improve it. And that's a win-win situation, because that means Elias gets a better kind of working condition and we get higher quality coffee. So that's kind of why we have done this work together for such a long time, and we'll continue to do so in the future. And one of the things we started working on quite early was to find seeds and plant new varieties at the farm. And maybe I should say old varieties, because we have been looking for rare and kind of different cultivars to plant on the farm. And that's because in most cases in Colombia, the farmers plant 2 or 3 different varieties. Caturra, which is the traditional one, and it's not resistant against leaf rust. And then you have Huila Colombia and Castillo, which are resistant against leaf rust. But they're genetically quite close, and flavor-wise they're also quite close, I would say. So we wanted to see if we could improve the coffees by planting new cultivars or old cultivars, and also in order to produce several different flavors on the farm, so that I don't have to travel all around the world to find coffees that are unique and different. So behind me here, you see there's a hill that we planted with Elias some years ago, and that hill is full of Bourbon trees. He has yellow Bourbon, red Bourbon, pink Bourbon, and Bourbon Sidra at the moment. And those coffees are tasting really good. And on the upper hill behind me, there is some Castillo. He has Castillo Naranjal, Castillo Tambo. They taste different. He has planted Java. He has planted Sudan Rumé. We have SL28 here, some Typica, some Ethiopian varieties. A new and exciting variety called Caturron, which has a very unique flavor. Of course, he has Caturra and Variedad Colombia, and many, many more. So I think all in all, we have counted around 20 different cultivars or varieties, I should call them, on Finca Tamana. And next year, which is 2022, we will be starting to sell for the first time the Java cultivar and the Caturron. They have very unique flavors, I think, and hopefully we'll get more cultivars in the future. Now, it takes a little bit of time to kind of develop a new production of a cultivar, and that's just because it's sometimes quite hard to get seeds here in Colombia. So we have to kind of seek farmers who have unique varieties and get a handful of seeds. You plant those trees, maybe we wait a few years, and then they start to produce, and then you start to taste the coffee. If it tastes good and produces well, we can plant more, and so on. And normally it will take between 5 and 10 years to kind of develop a new cultivar, if you're unsure if you want to plant more of it. So we started this work, I think, already in 2013. Now it's 2021, so we are starting to see a lot of very nice cultivars coming out of Tamana, and also a variation of flavor. So that's kind of a tedious work that we have done, and that we will continue to do, of course. And we will most likely remove some of the ones that are not so delicious and performing so well, and then replant them with the ones that we really like, so that we can have more of it. Now, if you've been following Finca Tamana and the project for some years, you might notice that there's a lot more buildings behind me here. And when I came here the first time, it was basically the main house. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, and a small kitchen, and a outdoor toilet for everyone, and a small social place outside. And then they had one of these dryers, parabolic dryers, which they had to dry all the coffees. So one of the first things that we had to implement here, because Elias was able to produce a lot of coffee, it's almost, I think then it was 23 hectares of planted with coffee, and now it's maybe 40. So we had to build more dryers, and at the moment there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dryers, and some of them are huge. We're going to take a look inside, but the drying technique has definitely changed. We're drying everything in shade, so there's shade nets inside these parabolic dryers. The reason why we need to have these kind of parabolic dryers is because you have rain here almost every day, so you need to protect the coffee from rain. You might also see there's a big flat green field there, and Elias made a football field for the workers to play football a couple of years ago. So that was one of the social projects he has made, but he has also built a new area where the workers, seasonal workers who come here from other states to work for a couple of weeks during the harvest, they can have a nice place to sleep. They have their own kitchen, they have their own toilets, they have toilets for men and women, showers for men and women, and so on. So there's a lot of improvements that has been made to the infrastructure of the farm. So let's take a look at some of the gems that I want to show you. So this is an entirely new building, and to the left you can see a little parking space where the workers can park their motorcycles away from the coffee dryers, so you don't get any fumes or gasoline smell in the coffee. And where you see the clothes are hanging to dry, Elias and Beani is going to build a small apartment for themselves where they can relax and have a bedroom, because they want to have a nice view of the farm. Below it is the mill. We're going to take a closer look of that. And the little white house with the green edges on the right side is the new cupping lab, and also a small storage space for tools like shovels and pitchforks and machetes and everything. And that used to be the old wet mill. So let's have a look at the new wet mill. At the end of 2019, Elias finished his new wet mill, which you can see behind me. It consists of 6 big stainless steel tanks that are really easy to clean, and those tanks, they are actually fermenting the coffee. And then they implemented a small washing machine, I'll show you later, where they can wash the coffee without using a lot of water. So normally when we did the old process, maybe they used 50 to 100 liters of water per kilo of coffee. That's a lot of water. Now they can use maybe a half a liter to 2 liters per kilo of coffee. So that's a huge reduction in the water usage. That means less contamination of the water that comes out. And that's very, very good. And I have to say, after 2 years of working this mill, they have really perfected it. Diego, the world barista champion, was here all last crop and was managing the mill and kind of perfecting how to do it. So because it's different equipment and different temperatures and everything, you have to kind of adjust your process a little bit in order to get the best possible quality. So Elias made these new tanks where we soak the coffee after it's being washed. That means you get rid of all the residual mucilage. And my theory is that you even out the moisture in the beans, so it makes it easier to dry them evenly. And we just found that coffees that have been soaked in water for like 24 hours, they tend to stay fresh for a longer time. This is the small washing machine. It's basically a mechanical demucilage remover, but it's a bit smaller than the normal one because this one is used after you have fermented the coffee. So there is a fermentation stage in this process, whereas a lot of these machines don't have that and they're a little bit bigger. And this is just a standard depulper that is used, and then the coffees are transported down to these tanks that you can see below me. And these are the stainless steel fermentation tanks, where you can have 6 different batches of coffee fermenting at the same time. And above it is a new receiving tank, which is also stainless steel. The good thing about stainless steel is that it's really easy to clean. A few years ago, Elias bought this Toyota 4x4, and it's a real workhorse. It's for the farm. And what he does with that is to bring cement when he needs to construct stuff. He brings fertilizer. He brings wood chips for me on my farm. And he also takes the coffee cherries from the farm down to the mill. Before, the workers had to carry the cherries on their neck walking down the hills. And I saw one lady who was working here took 125 kilos of coffee cherries on her neck, carried it down to the farm, which is, brutal. So now they're picking up the workers in this car whenever they have coffee cherries picked, and they drive it down to the mill where the coffee gets milled. And then once the coffee is milled, the pulp is collected in the car, driven back up to the farm so they can put it around the coffee trees. So this building was constructed a few years ago, where I have a bedroom where I sleep when I'm here. There's a dryer on top of it, and Beani and Elias is sleeping. And they just refurbished the old house, which is this one, where they have now a few more bedrooms that are refurbished, and a new kitchen that we're going to take a look at. So this is the new kitchen that they made. It's much bigger than the old one, and it was ready this year. So they just finished it, and they need a huge kitchen because they cook for about 50 people here during the harvest. So 3 meals a day, that means breakfast, lunch and dinner, that's included. And also they can sleep here for free, the workers, and they get paid also for what they pick. On a lot of farms they will deduct the money for food and so on from the salaries, but here they're given food as extra. So there's a lot of food to be made, and also a lot of coffee, and this is kind of my little coffee station. Diego and I make a lot of coffee when we're here, because we need to drink coffee in the morning. We get up at 6 in the morning, and already the workers are getting their coffee, and they're out working. And then at 8 they get breakfast, at 12 they get lunch, and at 4 or 5 they get dinner. So they also implemented gas. There's a local gas station here, like natural gas, not far away. So they are connected to that now. So that means they don't have to go drive and buy those bottles of propane to burn to cook food. And they also have this wood oven stove that is basically used all day long. And the fuel for that is actually old coffee trees that they have cut down, because every 5 to 7 years you cut down the coffee trees and new ones will grow up from that stem. So that's the new kitchen. It's very exciting and it's very, very practical. Elias also built a new bodega or warehouse where he can store a lot of his coffees, because during harvest there is a lot of coffees to be stored and they can't drive them every day or every week to Tarki or to a warehouse. So it's better to actually keep them here because it's cooler here than in the towns that are nearby. So that means the coffee can be stored at around 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, whereas if they were in Tarki or Garzon or Pital, the average temperature is much higher, maybe like 25, 26 degrees. So that means longer shelf life. And of course, all the coffees are kept in jute bags and with plastic or Grain Pro bags inside to keep the freshness. So this is a new sorting area where when the pickers have picked the coffee, they come down here to float the cherries in the tank you see in the back there, and then remove the cherries that are floating, and then they put the ripe, overripe and half-ripe cherries on these tables where they sort them. And when I came here we had to sit on the ground on plastic tarp to do this work, but now the workers are able to stand and work more efficiently with these tables. And they actually they're on hinge, so they can be taken up and cleaned very easily. And there's room for doing other stuff here when needed. And then the final thing I wanted to show you is that the new cupping lab is now finished. And Elias talked about this for a long time, and I've been talking about it with him for a long time. But we thought it would be really good to have a cupping lab at the farm, because then we could cup all the varieties they have on the farm. We could cup through the harvest here instead of going to Garzon and relying on other people's cupping labs to be able to taste the coffees and buy the coffees. So I gave him this Rust sample roaster in the background as a gift, because I've been really pushing him for the last year to finish the lab. But of course they didn't have a roaster, they had everything else. They had the cups, the spoons, the water boiler, the water filters, the tables, everything. But they were missing the final piece, which was the roaster. And I told Diego that I had bought one for them, but we kept it a secret until I came. So we gave the roaster to Elias on this trip, and he was very, very happy. And we have already been using the roaster a lot, and we have been using the lab a lot. So we've cupped, I think, 5 or 6 times already during this visit. And this is not even during harvest times, but there is a lot of value to giving feedback to the coffees that they have here And also we're trying to get Elias and Beani, his wife, and his daughters and son to cup as well, so that they actually can understand the value of their coffees and do a lot of the work. So let's just turn around a little bit. It's a beautiful lab. There's a 360-degree view of the farm. So it's going to be incredible to use this lab and cup when I'm here in the future. So that's basically it. There's some a lot of small and other changes as well, of course, on the farm. We can't really go through all of them in a video like this, but as you can see, there has been made huge improvements to the farm. And I am really looking forward to the next 10 years to working with Elias. I can't wait to be able to show you some new varieties that they have on the farm. They're tasting really amazing. And we're going to plant more Bourbon, more Caturon that are tasting fantastic. So I think, you know, the future is bright for Finca Tamana and the whole Roa family. And also Diego and Derlin. Derlin is the daughter of Elias, and Diego is the World Barista Champion. They are married now. They actually met when Diego came here with me in 2014, I think. He came to help me translate because I didn't speak Spanish at that time. I still don't really speak well Spanish, but a little bit better now. And they are now married and have a daughter. So they have bought a farm 1.5 hours away from here, where they are going to grow their own coffees. And I've already given Diego some really exciting varieties. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of those coffees in the future as well. But for now, we can enjoy the coffees from Finca Tamana. And I really, really love that we have been able to take the coffee to a higher level and higher quality. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do with the coffees in the future as well. So thanks for watching, and thanks for all the support for all of you who like this coffee and buy this coffee on a regular basis. Thank you so much. It means a lot to both me and Elias. And as you can see, the work that we are doing is actually giving some progress on the farm level, which is key if you want to continue drinking delicious, high quality coffees. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day.